Hey there guys, Andrew VXCC here, and today I'll finally be starting my tutorial series. I oftentimes get asked, hey Andrew, how do you decal? And I can't answer them without a set of instructions. So, there's a lot of dynamics that go behind it, but today I'll be showing you the basics of it and what you'll need to make a successful figure with Waterslide Decals. So, what we have here today are all the basic essential items you'll need. You need some water. You'll need a 1 by however many brick to put all your pieces on. You'll need a little bar to put the arms on, a pair of tweezers, a knife, and an applicator sponge, my favorite tool. Just some quick background. You can get any crafting knife that you want, but X-Acto is a really good brand, but this is a Japanese knockoff brand that I get at a local Japanese store near me. This is any set of tweezers will do, but I prefer the flatter head ones as opposed to the really pointy ones because it gives you more control over the decal without having to tear it. And this applicator sponge, you can get them anywhere. I got them at Walmart for like $3, and I got a pack of 20 or 30, and I still haven't gone through that pack for over 3 years. Water, they say, a lot of instructions online say that it should be lukewarm or heated, but honestly room temperature water or even cold water works just fine. As long as you got water, you'll be able to make these decals work. Now, as you can see here, I've got the Delta Squad going on. So far I have Scorch, Fixer, and Sev made, but I have not yet made Boss, and this is the decal set that you see for him right here. You can even buy the decal sets for him or the figure itself. Just send me a message and that can be arranged. So let's get started. So what we've got here is a blank white minifigure with a Clone Army Customs printed plain commando helmet on it. So, of course, the way you start is that you separate your figures. Like so. The way that my decals are designed is such that I have a torso decal front and back, and that actually connects the belt piece to the torso. I also have the helmet decals that you see here, the backpack decals that go all over this one. You have the set of arms, which is a complicated piece that I will show you how to do, and the wraparound leg decals. It's hard to see it now, but what you can make out is that this is the side of the leg, this is the front of the leg, the inside, and the back. And that's supposed to be one clean piece that encompasses the entire leg as opposed to 4 separate surfaces. That just makes it easier to apply, but of course you can separate them into the 4 separate side pieces if you please. This is just made to expedite the process of making a decal. So I'm going to start off with the most simple decal, and that would be the torso. I always start with this one because it's the easiest one to decal, as it's only one flat surface as opposed to the curved surfaces of the helmet, arm, or the multiple surfaces of the leg. And of course it is the largest decal, and the larger the decal is, the easier it is to work with it. Now, when you're cutting the decals, you want to be extremely precise with the lines. That way you're not cutting up anything that shouldn't be cut up, and you're not getting any excess white on the sides. And so it's important that when you start decaling, you need to know the shape of the surface that you're applying it to and the shape of the decal, and that way you'll be able to know what exactly you're cutting out. I will be posting a file soon that will show what all the pieces are supposed to look like, so that if anything, someone can make their own templates based on my minifigure template, or they can use it to understand how to use other people's decals. Now, the important reason why this is called Waterslide Decals is that, of course, you put it in the water. Submerge it all the way, if you ask me. Now, while that one is waiting in there, what I like to do is I like to cut out the next decal I will be working on. Now that it's waited in the water for a couple seconds, I usually wait at least 10. I pick it up with the tweezers. There it is. Now here's the reason why it's called Waterslide Decals. Because the decal slides off. With water, of course. Now, add that to my little pile, and here's how we apply it. You get the surface, you put it on with the tweezers, and you just kind of poke at it to line it up. Careful not to scratch off the design. And there you have it. It's semi-applied. Now what you see, you might not see here in the video, but in real life you notice that there are air bubbles, there's water bubbles, and the decal is just kind of slippery. So what you gotta do is use your applicator sponge. That's where this becomes your very best friend. Gotta hold the decal down a bit and press on it with the applicator sponge. Just kind of put a lot of pressure on it. Get rid of all those air bubbles, and then you realize, wow, it's on clean. You can kind of rub at it lightly, it won't move, but if you do put pressure, it will move around, so just be careful with it before you have sealed it. Oh, and speaking of sealant, I use the Krylon matte finish sealant for all of my figures. It gives it a really professional look. You can also use the glossy sealant, or you can choose not to seal it, but keep in mind, if you do not seal your decals, there's a very high chance that your decals will rip, tear, smear, and it just will not be a good figure. So decaling the figures, or sealing the figures, always helps to make sure that your figure will last. So same thing goes for the back side. And there it is. So just kind of press it down, make sure everything's lined up. So now that I've shown you the basics of how to decal, I'm going to be showing a time lapse of the rest of the decal process before going into the next part of the tutorial. Alrighty, so I have finished the other leg, and now this is how I set up my figures when I want them to be sealed. So I have one leg on either end of our 1 by however many brick. Then I put the bar with the arms on them, 2 studs away. I'll put the torso underneath here, 3 studs away, and the helmet on top with a black head underneath. And then another 2 studs away, I'll put the backpack. You can set this up however way you want, but this is the way I feel is ideal because I can hold it here while I get the sealant and I just spray it. So I'm going to go ahead and take you into my garage so we can get this thing sprayed. Okay, so here is our piece, and here's our sealant. Now you gotta shake it up really well. And then hold up your piece, get your sealant a couple inches away from it, and then it's very important, you spray a little off to the side, and then across your figure, just like that. You're gonna turn it around, do the same thing. Then you're gonna get the sides, and the other sides, and you're gonna get sealant on your fingers, and that's okay. Because you can always wash the sealant off later. And there you have it, it's all sealed. Now don't touch any of the parts until they've dried. Alright, so after a minimum of 10 minutes of letting your figure stand and dry, you can now handle the pieces. I'd recommend that you let them stand a lot longer than that, but 10 minutes minimum. So with decals, there is the issue of friction. Now that you've added a layer of decal paper and sealant over a regular Lego piece, when you put it inside the leg, if you put the leg inside, say like this, there's less space between the hip and the leg. So meaning that if you put the decal there and you roll the leg up like this, it will roll up that decal because there's too much stuff in between the hip and the leg. So what you need to do is to reduce the amount, or to increase the amount of space in between the hip and the leg. And how you do that is you use this special tool here, or you can use your knife, but this one's a lot easier. This is a Citadel mold line remover with a bunch of electric tape wrapped around the handle because I have used this to the point where I have broken the protective padding. So what you do, you hold the torso like this in between your two fingers, and then you just kind of scrape away at the inside of this here. This thing is not sharp enough to cut you, so you can let it touch your fingers all you want. And you can see all these bits of plastic getting cut up and brought with it. And occasionally just clear it off onto the floor or into a plastic bag or wherever it is that you want to keep your trash. And then do it again, going this way toward your thumb. And what you're doing is you are cutting into the hip, you're carving into the hip, as I say, to make sure that there's space for the leg to move as I drop the tool. You can also blow at it to get rid of some of the stuff. Just be careful. The reason why I had you hold this in the way that you're holding it is because you don't want this tool to touch the decals at all. Otherwise you might scrape at the decals and thus cause it to fall off, or not fall off, but to scrape off. And then you can test it by getting any regular leg, like so, putting that into the hip, and you can see there is a drastic amount of difference between the space in between. You can even fit your knife in there and you can cut through. And that is how you ensure that your decaled leg will now fit in there. I'm going to do that to the other side, and then I'm going to assemble it. Alrighty, now that there is sufficient space carved out between the hips, we can now begin to place in the legs. So, put in leg number 1 right there, and leg number 2, like so. The same thing goes for the arms. If I were to put a regular arm in this arm socket, the friction of the added sealant and decals would make it so that the decals would scrape off when the arm swivels. So we use our same tool, poke it into the arm socket, just kind of spin it around a couple times. Not too much though. And you give it just enough space so that the arm is not loose, nor is it so stiff that the decals would come off. Now you do want to be careful, because if you don't do it enough, the arm will still scrape off the decal, whereas if you do it too much, the arm will be extremely loose, and nobody likes that. There you go. Anyway, that concludes our tutorial. You now have a fully functional minifigure with full posability. And then just got to give him a blaster. like so. And now we have a full custom commando squad. I will be posting more tutorials soon, hopefully with higher quality videos. That way you can actually see what I'm doing without the camera being blurry or out of the picture. So if you want to see more of my work, there will be a link to my Flickr in the description below. And please comment and tell me what kind of tutorial you'd like to see next and what kind of improvements I can make to these tutorials so that it's easier for you to understand. I might have made this a little too fast-paced, too slow, or I might have left out a couple of things. So please, if you have any further questions, feel free to ask. You can even private message me for anything. Also, let me know what kind of tutorial you'd like to see next, whether it be sculpting, painting, or something else that's very specific. In the meantime, like I said, like, comment, subscribe, and hope this tutorial helps to clear up how to decal figures. Thanks for watching, and hope you guys have a great day.